been too kind. And that kindness, it's been weaponized against you. Every single time you extended grace to someone who didn't deserve it, they didn't see generosity. They saw weakness. Every time you forgave someone who never even asked for forgiveness, they didn't feel gratitude, they felt permission. Permission to do it again. Every time you stayed silent, just to keep the peace, you didn't preserve harmony. You handed them another blade to twist deeper into your back. You thought you were being the bigger person. They thought you were being the easier target. Today, that ends. Not tomorrow. Not next week when you've had enough. Today. Welcome back to Mind Plico. What I'm about to share with you isn't something you'll find in self-help books written by people who have never faced a true predator. These aren't gentle suggestions about setting boundaries and communicating your feelings. Toxic people don't care about your feelings. They feed on them. No. What I'm handing you today are 9 principles that Machiavelli himself would have whispered only to his closest allies behind closed doors. These are cold, calculated strategies designed for people who are absolutely done being drained by emotional parasites, energy vampires, and manipulators who wear the mask of friendship, family, or love. Here's the truth that most people will never accept. Toxic people do not respond to reason. You cannot logic your way out of their grip. You cannot appeal to their empathy because many of them don't have any. They respond to one thing and one thing only: consequences. They respond to power. They respond to the sudden, jarring realization that the person standing in front of them can no longer be manipulated, guilt-tripped, or controlled. When you become that person, everything changes, not just with them, but with everyone who ever thought they could use you. By the end of this video, you will become that someone. You will understand the psychology of predators and the philosophy of power. You will learn to move in silence, strike without warning, and protect your peace like the sacred territory it is. But first, I need you to understand something important. The game changed the moment you clicked on this video. You didn't come here by accident. Something inside you is tired. Tired of being taken for granted. Tired of giving and never receiving. Tired of walking on eggshells around people who stomp all over your life without a second thought. You're not here for comfort. You're not here for sympathy. You're here for transformation. And transformation requires a different version of you to step forward. If you're ready to become untouchable, I need you to drop this in the comments right now. I am no longer available for manipulation. Say it, type it, mean it. Let it be your declaration of war against everyone who ever mistook your patience for weakness. Now, let's begin. Number 2, the first principle: starve them of reaction. The first way to deal with toxic people is devastatingly simple. Stop reacting. Every outburst you give them is a meal. Every tear you shed is a feast. Every time you raise your voice, defend yourself desperately, or show that their words have landed, you feed the beast, and a well-fed predator never leaves. Machiavelli understood that power lies not in what you say, but in what you withhold. The person who controls their emotions controls the room. The person who remains calm while chaos erupts around them becomes untouchable. This is not about suppressing your feelings. This is about refusing to perform them for an audience that wants to see you break. Toxic people are emotional hunters. They throw grenades into conversations not because they want resolution, but because they want combustion. They want to see you explode so they can point at the wreckage and say, "Look how unstable you are." They provoke you and then play victim to the reaction they manufactured. It's a game, and you've been losing because no one taught you the rules. Here's your new rule. When they push, you become stone. When they insult, you become silence. When they rage, you become still water. Not because you're weak, but because you're calculating. You're conserving your energy for battles that actually matter while they exhaust themselves swinging at air. This is masculine stoicism in its purest form. The warrior does not flinch at every arrow. He watches, waits, and strikes only when the moment guarantees victory. Your lack of reaction is not surrender. It is strategy. Starting today, you give them nothing. No fuel, no fire, no satisfaction. If you understand this, type in the comments, "My silence is my power." Number 3, the second principle: study them like an enemy. Most people make a fatal mistake when dealing with toxic individuals. They try to avoid them. They look away. They pretend the threat doesn't exist and hope it will simply disappear. This is how prey behaves. You are no longer prey. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must study the nature of his enemies more carefully than he studies his allies. Why? Because your allies show you their best. Your enemies show you their patterns. And patterns are the roadmap to their destruction. The toxic person in your life has patterns. They have triggers. They have tactics they use over and over because those tactics have worked on you before. Your job now is to become a student of their behavior without becoming a victim of it. Watch them. Not with anger, but with detachment. Notice when they attack. Is it when they feel insecure? Is it when you're succeeding? Is it when you're happy and they cannot stand to see it? Notice how they attack. Do they use guilt? Do they twist your words? Do they recruit others to fight their battles? Notice who they become when they don't get what they want. The mask always slips eventually. This is dark psychology in practice. You are not engaging emotionally. You are gathering intelligence. Every conversation becomes reconnaissance. Every conflict becomes a case study. You begin to see them not as a source of pain, but as a puzzle to be solved and eventually outmaneuvered. When you study someone this way, a strange shift happens. They lose their power over you because you finally understand them. Fear comes from the unknown. But when you can predict exactly what someone will do before they do it, they become almost boring, predictable, small. The toxic person believes they are the chess master. Let them believe it. Meanwhile, you are 10 moves ahead, watching them repeat the same tired strategies that no longer work on someone who sees the entire board. Knowledge is leverage. Type this in the comments if you're ready to use it. I see the game now. Number 4. The third principle. Remove the audience. Here's something they don't want you to know. Toxic people are performers. Every insult, every guilt trip, every dramatic accusation is a show, and every show requires an audience. Without witnesses, their power evaporates like morning fog. They need people watching when they tear you down. They need others to validate their version of events. They need the crowd to see you stumble so they can play the hero or the victim, depending on which role serves them best. Machiavelli knew that public perception is a weapon. He who controls the narrative controls the outcome. Toxic people understand this instinctively. That's why they never confront you in private when they can humiliate you in public. That's why they bring up your failures at family dinners. That's why they criticize you in group chats instead of sending a direct message. The audience is not accidental. It's essential to their strategy. So what do? You remove the stage. You refuse to engage when others are present. You say calmly, "Let's discuss this privately," and watch the panic flicker behind their eyes. Because they know that without spectators, their performance means nothing. In private, there's no one to impress, no one to manipulate into taking sides, just them and you, and suddenly the odds feel even. If they refuse to speak privately, you have your answer. They were never interested in resolution. They wanted destruction with an audience. Walk away. Let them perform to an empty theater. Let their voice echo off walls with no one there to applaud. This principle extends further. Be very careful who you discuss your battles with. Toxic people have spies. They have enablers who report back every word you say. The colleague who seems sympathetic might be feeding information straight to your enemy. The friend who asks too many questions might not be a friend at all. Machiavelli warned that courts are filled with those who smile while sharpening knives behind their backs. Your life is no different. Move in silence. Handle your conflicts away from prying eyes. Starve the performer of their stage, and you starve them of their power. When you control who sees what, you control the entire game. If you're done being a spectacle for someone else's ego, drop this in the comments. I move in silence now. I move in. Number 5. The fourth principle. Make them need you more than you need them. Power flows in one direction. It flows toward the person who needs the relationship least. This is not cruelty. This is physics. This is the fundamental law of every human interaction that has ever existed. The moment someone realizes they need you more than you need them, the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly, they tread carefully. Suddenly, they watch their words. Suddenly, the person who once tormented you begins to treat you with something resembling respect. Not because they've changed, but because the cost of losing you has become too high. Machiavelli observed that men are driven by two things: love and fear. But love is fickle and unreliable. Fear, or more precisely, the fear of loss, is consistent. Toxic people don't respect boundaries because they like you. They respect boundaries when they realize that crossing them means losing access to something they value. Your job is to become that something. Your job is to build a life so full, so valuable, so rich with options that walking away from any relationship becomes a real possibility, not a bluff, a genuine option. This is why self-improvement is not vanity. It is strategy. Every skill you develop makes you harder to replace. Every friendship you cultivate outside of the toxic relationship gives you alternatives. Every dollar you save, every opportunity you create, every ounce of confidence you build becomes a brick in the fortress of your independence. When you are irreplaceable and they are not, the game is already won. Think about this carefully. Why do toxic people target certain individuals? Because those individuals have nowhere else to go. Because they are isolated, dependent, or convinced that they cannot survive without the toxic person's approval. The abuser keeps the victim financially dependent. The manipulative friend ensures you have no other social circle. The controlling partner makes you believe no one else would ever want you. This is not coincidence. This is design. They engineer your dependence because your dependence is their leverage. So you must engineer the opposite. Build your value relentlessly. Expand your network quietly. Develop skills that make you an asset wherever you go. Create financial stability that answers to no one. Cultivate an inner confidence that does not require external validation to survive. When you do this, something remarkable happens. You stop tolerating mistreatment because you no longer have to. You can leave any table where respect is not being served because there are other tables waiting for you. The toxic person will sense this shift. They always do. And they will either rise to meet your new standards or they will fade from your life entirely. Both outcomes are victories. You are no longer a hostage negotiating for scraps of decency. You are a free agent choosing where to invest your precious time and energy. If you're ready to become the one who can walk away, type this: I am the asset now. Number 6. The fifth principle: never explain, never complain. The moment you start explaining yourself to a toxic person, you have already lost. Explanation is defense. Defense is weakness. And weakness is blood in the water to someone who feeds on your insecurity. They don't ask questions because they want to understand you. They ask questions because every answer you give becomes ammunition for the next attack. Machiavelli advised that a prince should never justify his actions to those beneath him, not out of arrogance, but out of understanding. Justification invites debate. Debate invites manipulation. And manipulation is the toxic person's native language. They will twist your words, reframe your intentions, and use your own explanations against you until you're apologizing for things you never did. The same applies to complaining. When you complain about a toxic person to others, you give them real estate in your mind and conversation. You advertise your wounds. You signal that they have affected you deeply enough to consume your thoughts and words. This information always finds its way back to them, and it always empowers them. Your frustration is their validation. Here is the cold truth. Your actions speak. Your results speak. Your silence speaks loudest of all. You owe explanations to no one who has proven they will misuse them. You owe complaints to no audience that cannot actually solve your problem. Save your words for those who have earned them. Save your energy for moves, not talk. When they demand explanations, offer none. When they accuse you falsely, let your life be the rebuttal. When they try to provoke you into venting, give them only calm indifference. This is not arrogance. This is economy. You are simply too valuable to waste words on people who will never hear them. Speak less, move more, win quietly. Number 7. The sixth principle: use strategic distance. Not every battle requires a sword. Sometimes the most devastating weapon is empty space. Distance is not retreat. Distance is control. It is choosing the terms of engagement rather than being dragged into conflicts you never signed up for. Machiavelli understood that proximity breeds vulnerability. The closer someone is to you, the more damage they can inflict. Toxic people exploit closeness. They use shared spaces, mutual friends, and daily access to chip away at your peace one interaction at a time. They count on your availability. They depend on your presence to fuel their dysfunction. Remove that presence, and you remove their power. Strategic distance means limiting access without announcing it. You don't declare war, you simply become less available. Calls go unanswered a little longer. Invitations are declined more often. Conversations become shorter, more surface level, less nourishing for someone who feeds on drama. You create a gap so gradually that they cannot accuse you of anything specific, yet the effect is undeniable. They feel you slipping away, and there is nothing they can grab onto. This is especially critical when complete removal is not possible. Perhaps they are family, perhaps they are co-workers, perhaps circumstances tie you together in ways you cannot immediately sever. Fine. You cannot eliminate them, but you can minimize them. You can interact only when absolutely necessary. You can keep conversations transactional and brief. You can be physically present but emotionally unreachable. Think of yourself as a fortress. You control the drawbridge. You decide who enters and how far they get. Toxic people may stand outside the walls and shout, but they cannot touch you unless you lower the bridge yourself. Guard your access like the precious resource it is. Number 8, the seventh principle: let them destroy themselves. Here is a truth that requires patience to accept. Toxic people are already on a path to their own destruction. You do not need to push them. You do not need to expose them. You do not need to seek revenge or waste your energy engineering their downfall. Time and their own nature will do the work for you. Machiavelli observed that men who rely on manipulation eventually run out of people to manipulate. The liar is eventually caught. The betrayer eventually runs out of allies. The one who burns bridges eventually stands alone on an island of their own making. Your only job is to step back and let gravity do its work. This requires something most people lack: restraint. When someone has hurt you, every instinct screams for justice. You want them to suffer. You want others to see what you have seen. You want vindication. But here is the trap. The moment you engage in their destruction, you become entangled in their chaos. You lower yourself to their level. You give them the enemy they need to justify their behavior and play victim once again. Instead, do nothing. Watch. Wait. Continue building your life while they continue dismantling theirs. Let them tell lies about you until their credibility collapses under the weight of contradiction. Let them mistreat others until no one remains in their corner. Let their patterns catch up to them as patterns always do. The sweetest justice is the kind you did not have to pursue. It arrives on its own while you are busy thriving. One day, you will look back and realize they are still exactly where you left them, stuck in the same cycles while you have moved miles ahead. Patience is power. Drop this in the comments. I let time fight my battles. Number 9, the 8th principle: protect your inner circle. Ruthlessly. You cannot afford to be democratic about who gets access to your life. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Not everyone who smiles at you wishes you well. The toxic person you are dealing with today was once someone you let in. Remember that. They did not break down your walls. You opened the gate and welcomed them inside. Machiavelli warned that a prince is judged by the quality of the men around him. Surround yourself with the loyal and competent, and you will be seen as wise. Surround yourself with the treacherous and weak, and you will fall with them. Your inner circle is not just company. It is a reflection of your judgment and a predictor of your future. From this moment forward, you must audit your relationships with ruthless honesty. Who adds value? Who drains it? Who celebrates your victories genuinely? Who secretly hopes you fail? Who can you trust with your vulnerabilities without fear of exploitation? These are not comfortable questions, but they are necessary ones. A small circle of trusted allies is worth more than a crowd of questionable acquaintances. Quality over quantity, depth over breadth. 3 people who would stand beside you in your darkest hour are more valuable than 30 who disappear when the weather turns. Choose carefully. Observe consistently. Remove quickly when someone reveals themselves to be unworthy. This is not paranoia. This is wisdom. The toxic people who have wounded you succeeded because they found a gap in your defenses. That gap was your own lack of discernment. Close it. Guard your circle like a general guards his war council. Let entry be earned through proven loyalty and consistent character over time. Your peace depends on who you allow near it. Number 10, the 9th principle. Become the person they cannot break. We arrive now at the final principle, the one that makes all the others possible. You must become unbreakable, not hard, not cold, not emotionally dead, unbreakable. There is a difference. Hardness is brittle and eventually shatters. Coldness is isolation disguised as strength, but unbreakable is something else entirely. It is flexibility with a core of iron. It is the ability to absorb impact without losing your center. Machiavelli admired leaders who could weather any storm because their foundation was built on something deeper than circumstance. They did not crumble when betrayed because they expected betrayal as part of the game. They did not collapse when attacked because they had already made peace with the reality that attacks would come. This is not pessimism, this is preparation. The toxic people in your life have only as much power as your vulnerabilities allow. Heal your wounds, and their weapons become useless. Build your confidence from within, and their insults land on armor. Develop an unshakable sense of your own worth, and their manipulation finds no foothold. You become untouchable, not by hiding from the world, but by mastering yourself so completely that external chaos cannot reach your internal peace. This is the ultimate revenge, not destruction, transformation. You become someone they simply cannot damage anymore. And when they realize this, when they see that their old tricks no longer work, they will either respect you or leave you. Both are victories. You started this video looking for ways to deal with toxic people. But the real answer was always you. Become the person who does not attract manipulation. Become the person who recognizes it instantly and shuts it down. Become the person they tell stories about as the one who got away. Type this final declaration in the comments: I am unbreakable.